Yeah, yeah, good evening, class. As we know that in the last class we read about the till last three classes. If you'll see, we read about the three governor generals, Lord Cornwallis, Wellesley, and yesterday's class it was Dalhousie. Okay, Dalhousie, a little bit part is left over, which is I'll say today last. But now, along with the Dalhousie, let us complete with William Bentinck, another most important Governor General of India, who had little bit contribution regarding the expansion already completed when William Bentinck came to India in 1928. Vishnu Kumarji, I hope you are understanding. Yesterday we made the continuity. Okay, so when William Bentinck came to India, 1828. By that time, almost the previous governor generals they completed the expansion of British East India Company. Okay, administration they implemented, but remain part the completely better administration of the East India Company and reform. That credit goes to the William Bentinck. William Bentinck did not spend much and more time for the expansion. Instead of that, he made some reforms. And one more thing we can say, when this William Bentinck came to the power, by the time in India we are able to get a good number of people who were also a little bit good aware about the socio-religious conscious, and they read the Western culture. Some educated people we are able to see. For example, Raja Ramohan Rai, one of the greatest personality of India, who supported to William Bentinck and who requested, or we can say took the help of William Bentinck to bring socio-economic, religious changes, reform movement. So William Bentinck completely in India reform, we can say. Okay, so many reforms, economic reform we will read, and socio blind beliefs were there by the time that all also changed by Lord William Bentinck. Let us see the era of reform under William Bentinck in India. So we can say this one is the era of reform in India. As I clearly mentioned that the time when William Bentinck came, no, already India able to get large part under the East India Company. It may be the subsidiary alliance, it may be the permanent settlement, it may be the doctrine of lapse. By implementing such type of British policies, they able to expand the Indian administration. I hope you are understanding, right? So now there was required to make a better administration, and that better administration, or we can say that better reform was provided by none other than William Bentinck. So William Bentinck came to India as a governor general in 1828. By that time, extension of British Empire had grown vast. Expect if you see only a few part of the Sindh, Punjab, Nepal, the rest of the India were under the supremacy of the British, not entire Punjab. Okay, few part of the Punjab, because by the time some strong rulers were also available in the Punjab. Anyhow, there was no need for the new governor general to fight more territories. Yeah, of course, this new governor general was none other than Lord William Bentinck, right? Yeah. The arrival of the Bentinck was like a single uh, for a new time. The time before he was uh, the time of wars and the conquest, but now there was no need of any war at all, because already annexation of East India Company completed, and this time he reached the governor general only for 7 years in and around 1828 to around 1835. He ruled India. By that time, he developed the peaceful activity by bringing a lot of the need of the time, we can say. Okay, William Bentinck fulfilled the need of the time, and that was the reform. What were they? Without wasting time, let us see. First of all, he was a liberal. He himself was a liberal reformer. He brought a number of reform. First reform, if you see, economic reform. So, before William Bentinck, those who were the governor generals, they spend huge amount of money of East India Company in various useless activities. For example, they appointed so many officers under the East India Company. They were only for the namesake. They are unable to understand the language of the local in India. Neither they able to understand the language, nor they able to understand the people. There was no coordination between that British officers and the local people. They were worthlessly appointed. They are unable to render any service. Out of that is expenditure, neither the East India Company nor the India able to get any benefit. So that was the condition. In that circumstance, William Bentinck came to India. So now he realized that these officers can be changed. So he minimized the expenditure by removing so many departments which were not that much of necessary by that time. So he able to save a lot of East India Company money. Another thing he did a good job that to render the same service, they used to appoint the East India Company officers. When they used to bring that East India Company officers from England, they have to spend more money. But here, as I told you by that time, some of the Indians, they able to get good knowledge in English. So East India Company, now under the leadership of William Bentinck, they preferred Indian to replace the East India Company officers. Please try to remember this. Okay, so as a result, when they appointed the Indian officers, not office rank, but the clerical rank and all this, as a result, they able to save a lot of money. So that was another greatest economic reform we can say implemented by William Bentinck, right? And for some example, if you'll see, there was huge civil officers who got allowances, and one allowance called during that time BATTAS, Battas. Okay, that was one type of extra money was given to the civil servants. Though their salary were high, apart from that high salary, this Battas system also there. William Bentinck reduced the scale, both the salary and the allowances. As a result, that also one of the greatest economic reform that helped the East India Company and saved the money. Another thing what William Bentinck did, he reduced all the expenditure. Along with that, by the time he started trade relation with the other countries, particularly by that time, I hope you people know that by the time British East India Company introduced opium. Okay, there was a two opium wars. In other classes, we'll discuss what is this opium war. 18, if I'm not wrong, 1830 or 435 one opium war. Another is the 1850, 758 second opium war. East India Company versus China. Anyhow, so this East India Company wanted to expand its empire in the China. They requested the then ruler of China, Qinglun. By that time, there was the ruler of China was Qinglun, but Qinglun did not keep any trade relation with the East India Company. As a result, this East India Company from India secretly exported, we can say, this opium to China, and the Chinese people able to addict that, and that became a more profit for the East India Company. Implementation of opium. Okay, so that is one of the trade he made, and that helpful to gain a better income for the East India Company. That credit also goes to William Bentinck. I hope you are understanding that. Okay, along with that, William Bentinck such methods improve the financial condition of East India Company, and it able to by the time when he came, therefore, there was a deficit of 1 million at the annual budget. But now, when he left to Mr. William Bentinck, when he left, he made a surplus of 1.5 million rupees. Okay, so that much contribution he able to do. Yeah, one more point I can say, those who appointed Indians, the Indians who appointed in the government, they were given by the time in and around up to 750 rupees. Indian officers. Okay, those who appointed in the East India Company by the time, at the time of William Bentinck, 1828 to 1835, that time the Indian officers or the workers in East India Company were paid a huge amount. That 750 was not a small amount by the time, children. So that money by paying, even they help the economic condition of Indians, we can say. So these all are the small methods, measures, steps, we can say, adopted by William Bentinck to gain economic reform, which helpful both the East India Company and the Indians. Yeah. Yes, children, we can say even Indians also gain because this William Bentinck appointed, Indians. So after that, in the British Parliament also, they recognized, they implemented one charter in 1932. In that British Parliament charter that also provided some jobs to the Indians. Okay, so that was one of the benefit. I hope you can. Next, another system which implemented by the 1833, the Parliament renewed the charter of the East India Company. In that charter, Parliament proclaimed that, uh, yeah, Indian natives can be appointed in the jobs. Okay. Along with these economic reform, one more reform we can discuss about Mr. William Bentinck, that was none other than the judiciary reform. William Bentinck, when he came, there was a judicial department on, described the notice. Lord Cornwallis has established that. And during Lord Cornwallis' period, a number of circuit courts were implemented in the country. Under that system, the judges used to go to the different places, different time, and try to deliver the justice. But this used to take a lot of time, and those who were the victims, they have to stay for a long time without any verdict. Such type of system was completely changed by the William Bentinck, and then he appointed district magistrate. Okay, and even this judiciary system was not proper for small or minute crimes. Even death sentence also they used to give. So when William Bentinck came to India, he observed all these difficulties in the judiciary, and he implemented a new judiciary system in which a lot of reforms we able to see in India during the even magistrates and the collectors were given judicial power. Till now, that system is going on. Our district collector is also called as a magistrate. That system is till now going on, and these all our credit goes to William Bentinck. I hope you can understand. Along with these all are one more important, contribution of William Bentinck. If you see, implementation of vernacular language. So basically, in the courts, by the time they used only the English language, no one able to understand that. Indians by that time not that much of educated, they are unable to understand that. As a result, he introduced the vernacular language in the court. From the days of Mohammedan rule, Persian was used in the court language. The common people seldom understand that language. It was still more difficult when they introduced the English language. So instead of that Persian or the English language, uh, yeah, this William Bentinck introduced a local language, which was popularly called as a vernacular language or the mother language in the court. That was a great boon to the people of India. So these all are the some or other reforms related to the judiciary, related to the economy, we able to see during William Bentinck's period between 1828 to 35. Within this period of 7 years, Vishnu Kumarji, I hope you are understanding. Very simple, and that's why I am not repeating points. It is a little bit easy, I hope. So these are the reforms we able to see in India during William Bentinck's period. These are economic and judiciary reform. Now, the most important reform is the social reform in India during the William Bentinck's period. Social reform. Yeah, we know that in India there were so many yeah dogmas, blind beliefs in the name of socio-religion was practiced. We know that. Okay. So when William Bentinck came to India, in India by that time, some of the such practices such as sati, thagis, okay, next the human sacrifice, child marriage or the such type of practices were very common in India. So first of all, William Bentinck concentrated on that sati. I hope you understand that sati. What is that sati? I hope everyone you know that. It was one type of yeah, sati system. If you'll see, uh, I hope you know that it was practiced in the Orthodox families and most of the Hindu. Okay, from the remote past, the system of sati or burning of a widow on the funeral prayer of her husband to prevail, which is practiced or prevail in the Hindu society as a deep-rooted superstition. And by doing this practice by the widow, they believe that the widow, along with her husband, used to go to heaven, no rebirth. They can get the salvation by making the sati. That was the deep-rooted practice. And when this William Bentinck came to India, he observed that every year in India there were near about 700 to 800 sati cases he able to find. Really, it was a disgusting practice which was made in India by that time. And by the time, as I told you, yeah, some of the educated Indians, they supported William Bentinck. One of the prominent personality was none other than Raja Raman Rai. He also he also requested William Bentinck, we can say, both Bentinck and Raja Raman Rai, they did little bit for the removal of this sati system. Finally, during the William Bentinck's period, in 1929, in 1829, that is, okay, in 1829, they abolished the sati system. But the practice, deep rooted in India, blind belief, within one act we can't. Okay, so it was still practiced in remote area. Finally, the government has taken strong actions. Those who are doing such practice, and sati, another reason along with the religion, some of the greedy people, and they were very much encouraged to this sati practice because the woman who was going to sati, they used to get the ornaments and all this, so they encouraged by force. Even along with the blind belief, some or other way, it became a by force practice also to gain that wealth, property, gold, ornament. So finally, with the help of Raja Raman Rai and all this, British government officially it was banned in 1933. Sorry, 1833, 1821. It was banned officially, but still, one parliament in British Parliament they passed one bill, and that was officially banned the sati system in India. 1829 December, Bentinck abolished the system of sati by regulating a proclamation, but the final proclamation we able to get in 1832-33. Okay, Privy Council of England. Please remember this. 1829, whatever the ban on sati was made in India, that was by William Bentinck. But that was praised by the East India Company, or we can say the British Parliament. And the British Parliament also supported the ban of the sati. And in 1832, the Privy Council of England gave its decision in favor of the abolition of sati system. So we can say this sati system was officially by the British Parliament also banned in 1832. That ended the agitation and conservation Hindus, they didn't support because one practice in the society we cannot ban so easily. That was the part and parcel of life. Anyhow, we are not going that deeper. This was the step taken by Mr. William Bentinck for the abolition of sati. After the sati, another new achievement of the William Bentinck, if you'll see, evolution of the system of human sacrifice. My God, but by that time, so many blind beliefs were practiced in India, children. So human sacrifice, two causes. One was goddesses Earth. Okay. Mother Earth required the human blood for better crop. That was the belief by those people. That's why they used to provide or kill innocent human to give the blood of the human to the earth god, it seems, for getting better crop. Number one. Number two, religious point of view, if you see, some of the Orthodox people, they used to give the sacrifices, human sacrifices, in front of the goddesses, Kali and all this. Okay, so that practice also very common while Mr. William Benedict reached India. And as I told you, Raja Raman Rai and some of the Indian educated Indians, they didn't agree with that. As a result, this superstition of the system of human sacrifice was also banned or abolished during William Benedict. That was also one of the greatest achievement we can say. Apart from that, one more illegal practice in India was none other than, I hope you are understanding. So many reforms we have seen, children. William Bentinck, socio-economic change we have seen, judiciary system we have seen, socio-religious system in that Sati we have seen, we read, and yeah, human sacrifice we read. Now, another one is a thug system. THUGEE, thug system. What is this thug system? They were a group of people who were living in the jungles or the forest. While people were moving in around that forest, they used to kill that people, and they used to take the wealth, property, or that gold. Basically, by that time, people were moving one place to another in order to religious point of view to visit different type of religious places. But by taking the advantage of that, this group of people, robbery group, we can say that robbery group, we can say they were called by the time as the thuggy group, thugs. And when William Bentinck came to India, by the time this group were very common in the different part of India. The people were mostly afraid of undertaking a distant journey because of these thugs. Pilgrimage, particularly, they faced a lot of problem. That's why the traders could not carry even the goods to one place to another place. Even that was a great threat for the traders also. The general people unable to go for their yeah, different journey. So these all are the problem faced by the common people. And William Bentinck took the step, and finally the thug system also banned, and a number of thugs were arrested and kept in the jail. So this was one of the another greatest contribution of William Bentinck, we can say. By the time of William Bentinck, British power had been well established, as we know that large part of India. So these all reforms implemented by William Bentinck helpful to gain or to strengthen the British power in India. Now, this much. Another greatest contribution we have to see, children, and that was none other than the English education system. The introduction of English, British education system in India. As I told earlier, William Bentinck appointed some of the Indians in the East India Company. As a result, it able to save the money because Indians were working, those who were working under the East India Company, they were paid very low salary compared to the British officers. As a result, now there was a challenge that how many Indians know the English education. That was a great challenge. So to appoint the Indians in East India Company as a workers, William Bentinck introduced one new system. He wanted to bring the reform in the education system, and that reform was popularly called as introduction of that was another English education in India. Okay, so to implement that English education, there was a problem. Some of the Orthodox Hindus, they were not yeah, interested to introduce the English education in India. By that time, there were two group of people we able to see. One of the group, those who were interested of, yeah, those who were in favor of Sanskrit, Arabic, Persia. They were called as the Orientalist. They never wanted to replace English in these languages. Try to understand. When William Bentinck wanted to introduce English, by the time a group of people they opposed William Bentinck because they never wanted to change the what is it language. By the time Sanskrit, Arabic, Persian language were very common in India, and that was very familiar with the every people. And those who supported these languages, local languages, they were called as the Orientalists. On the other hand, when William Bentinck wanted to introduce the English, they were called as the Anglicists, Anglicites. So there was a controversy between Orientalists and the Anglicites. Anglicite means those who supported to the English education. So this was a long controversy. Raja Raman Rai, he also very much interested to introduce the English or the English education. Though he was a good at Sanskrit, but he realized that yeah, India can improve with the introduction of English education in India. To solve all this, William Bentinck unable to solve these all, finally he appointed one of the British officer, Lord Macaulay. Very important. The person, Lord Macaulay. Macaulay had very little knowledge. So in the year 1834, Lord William Bentinck appointed Lord Macaulay as a law member. He was a law member of the Governor General of Governor General's Council. Bentinck appointed him to introduce this English education in India. So Macaulay, when took the charge, he also faced the same problem. Indians were not in favor of English education by that time. In spite of all this, he had no respect for the Oriental learning, and then he interested even to introduce the English. Initially, in early 1834, 35, early 1835, submitted his famous minute on the Indian education for the consideration of government, and that minute he produced on the Sanskrit or the Arabic by saying that a single self or good European library was worth the whole literature of India and Arabica. Anyhow, because of all these steps, they introduced the English. Macaulay thus suggested to make English the language of higher education in the India with the Western learning, and the subject of study of Bentinck accepted his suggestion. Accordingly, on 7th March 1834, a regulation was passed by the government which declared what it declared. I'm reading what was the declaration. His Lordship is of opinion that great objective of Bentinck government ought to be promotion of European literature and science among the native of India, and that all limits appreciated for the purpose of education would be the best employment on English education alone. This was a declaration made on 7th March 1835. Means this regulation or the declaration says that, yeah, Indians can get better jobs. Indians can familiar with science and technology only with the introduction of English education. So Bentinck regulation opened a new chapter in the history of India, Indian education, we can say. It was from that time the Western education began and spread in India. I hope you are understanding, children. This is what the practiced conclusion we can say. The future of India was the destiny of India, of course, we can say. changed by William Bentinck with the introduction of English education. Otherwise, we might have, yeah, a little bit more backward today compared to that present day. Okay. Anyhow, that's why most of the time, children, I'm telling this English education in India or the British rule in India, most of the time I used to say blessing in disguise. Of course, the Europeans, they didn't like Indians. They treated, they exploited, they looted, they did everything. But the reform what they introduced in India in the name of English education, abolition of sati, abolition of the thuggies, next introduction of the transport, communication by the William Dalhousie, these all made India a little bit progressive. Otherwise, today in what position we were, might be taken a little bit more time. Anyhow, that's not our question. Our question is how William Bentinck able to provide a better what English education, and these are the socio-religious educational reforms introduced in India by William Bentinck. Hope you understood this. Okay, as yesterday, little bit left over, I can complete. And that was none other than Lord Dalhousie. Last time we have seen how Lord Dalhousie able to annexation of India by implementing doctrine of lapse. Apart from that, due to lack of time, we unable to complete that little part. That was none other than what are the transformation, or we can say the reforms. Among the reforms of Lord Dalhousie, the most prominent reform was none other than he implemented or introduced the railway system, right? It was the English that first railway was opened in 1825. They opened in 1825, but very soon the railway proved itself a grand success. Continuation with that within the 20 years. Okay, that was in England. That 1825 they introduced in England. When it was very success in England, within 25, 20, 30 years, within that, they even introduced in India. Okay, basically the 34 kilometers of railway they constructed from Mumbai to Thane. But before that, they made that plan in West Bengal. But the West Bengal geographical condition, land did not support. They constructed children at West Bengal, but they were unable to introduce that due to the some technical and the geographical condition. Finally, it was introduced in 1853 in Mumbai, Bombay by that time, Bombay to Thane, 34 kilometers, and that 34 kilometers now we know on the importance and the spread. Okay, that credit goes to Dalhousie, right? After that, another greatest contribution of Dalhousie was none other than introduction of electronic electrical telegraph. Now, very recently, Government of India, Indian Postal Department removed the telegraph system. It was as like the typing system, which is very faster communication system by that time. By that time means up to 1990s, introduction of a telephone. Up to introduction of telephone, this telegraph was worked as a fastest means of communication, right? That was also introduced by the Lord Dalhousie. Similarly, modern postal system. This present India is the world's largest postal system today, and that postal system also introduced in India by Dalhousie, uh, which was modern postal system. And by 1840, a gifted man called Rowland Hill introduced in England the system of penny postage. Try to remember, 1840 it was introduced in England. Rowland Hill, Rowland Hill, who introduced the penny postage system, and then within that 10, 15 years, the same thing was introduced in India also. New postal system was one of the huge and greatest boon for the Indian in 1852. The English Parliament permitted to introduce that half anna postage system in India, introduced a half anna. Try to remember. 1852. 2 minutes are left over. Let me complete one more point. Along with that, this Lord Dalhousie introduced the vernacular education also. What was that vernacular education? Just now we read about the William Bentinck, and similarly, the local language was introduced in India by the Dalhousie, and he established some old village Pathasalas. That word Pathasala was introduced in India by the British government. Okay, the teachers in the Pathasala were old, fashionated, and was not regular system, but that was changed. And then they introduced the uh, Avidhanas or Avidhan, that a teacher system was changed, Avidhanas were established, and vernacular languages introduced in India by the Lord Dalhousie. Similarly, Lord Dalhousie's time, we able to see the noteworthy social reforms, namely abolition of female infanticide and suppression of human sacrifice. He also did all these. Few more minutes, and last but not the least, Lord Dalhousie able to introduce the public works PWD also. Okay, present PWD, Public Works Department, that was also introduced in India by the Lord Dalhousie. So class, today we have seen the great contribution of two governor generals. Initial first near about first half, we completely read about what was the contribution of Lord William Bentinck to Indian education, Indian economic, Indian judiciary system, or socio-religious reform contribution. We have seen evolution of sati, evolution of the thugis, evolution of female infanticide. Okay, and William
So the
Bentinck, how
meeting
he,
will end, sir.
yes,
Shall we
ma'am, yes,
join
ma'am.
again? Please.
Almost for today it is completed, ma'am.
It is
Next
completed.
class,
Okay.
yeah, just one
Yeah,
last point.
right.
So along with these all introductions are the reforms driven by William Bentinck. One more we saw Dalhousie's.